All right, we're going to get rolling.
They helped create an economy that was completely addicted to cheap money.
You need to buy savings bonds or something. You need to be way, way, way out of this space.
I subscribe to Miss Piggy's rule of money management. Always manage to have more money, you know what I mean?
It wasn't but 2 years ago that everybody was saying China's economy was going to be bigger than that of the United States. It's gone in the exact opposite direction.
So we're going to jump right in.
Welcome to VRIC Media, the most trusted voice in junior mining. I'm here with E.B. Tucker. E.B., it's great to see you, man.
Great to see you.
So here's where I want to start. You just published your new book. It's called Not for Sale, How to Survive and Thrive in a World That Wants to Control You. I just ordered it, so I haven't had the chance to read it yet, but I feel like I get the content because we've been chatting. So let's start here. Why did you write a new book and what's it about?
Well, it's an unusual book, and I think people should know these are the stories. If something happened to me, these are the stories I want my children to read. These are the things that I've kind of, I don't want to say I've learned them in the first half of life. You know, I mean, I'm 45 years old. So it's midlife era, and it's time to look back and say, what happened? How did I get here? And I guess the thing that kept coming up to me is like, people just assume that maybe I was born rich. It's not really true. I mean, I wasn't born poor. I'm kind of tired of people saying they were born like dirt poor. You know, it's kind of everybody, if you notice, was born. I wasn't born poor. There's like a bell curve. I was born kind of in the middle of it, you know, and everything was fine. But what happened? How did I get here? How did I end up in this place? And there's an answer to that question, and the answer's in the book. And so what you see in the book is all these things that happened to me. You know, I had a lot of problems. I mean, I dropped out of school, you know, I ran away. I was sent to like a reform camp. There's all this weird stuff that happened to me. And so I just tell you all about that. And then I tell you, what are the habits that I have that ensure success? And this has been a kind of a bad year. I don't want to say a bad year for me, but this has been a down year in the stock chart. It's like a pullback. And I just love down years because it's the down times that you decide how high you're going to fly next. Okay. And I tell you how I'm going to do that. And it's like, I really tell it to you. I mean, it's just not like, you know, it's when you write a book like this, it's super vulnerable. And I think vulnerability is going to be like, you know, the new action sport, because you live in this world of fake people with filters, and everything is like a mask. And so when you take a risk and you write vulnerable things, like when you tell about business partnerships that didn't work, relationships that, you know, worked for a while and that didn't work. I mean, you know, these are painful things. And I'm going to tell you about it because I bet you've been through something like that too. And if you read about my situations, maybe you'll see that you've got some choices to make. And just to be clear, I don't have any sort of ideology to sell you either. I mean, you're going to kind of like at the end of the book, you read this thing called the manifesto. This is what, you know, this is literally what I do every single day to set myself up for the next thing. And believe me, like, you know, I don't know exactly what that thing is, and I don't need to know. And I call this era that I'm coming into EB 7.0. And that means there's another 6 that have happened before that. And so I just tell you what it was like in 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. You know, my personal lawyer and I were talking about this book back in January. I started writing this book. And my lawyer was like, look, man, he's like, when you were at EB 2.0, you needed to have faith. But you don't need to have faith anymore. You have evidence. You know, you have real evidence of how this works. And so anyway, so the book, I hope you enjoy the book. I think you probably will, because I kind of know you on a personal level. But the book, there's going to be people that are affected by the book in a very sensitive way. There are going to be people that are going to read the book and that are going to learn things about me that are going to surprise them. And they're going to have some nephew or some kid or something, and they're going to say like, wow, this is going to give me some insight on, like, you know, how to deal with this like troublemaking kid that I have. or something. Like, I mean, I had severe learning problems. Like, it's just, you know, like I was poorly behaved. So I grew up in a weird place. A lot of stuff that's not easy. And I think people are going to see that that's okay. And you're going to be all right. It depends on what you do with it, though. I mean, it's certain choices you're not going to be all right. But I mean, this is a journey. This life is a journey. I mean, you don't just like pin yourself, you know, into a certain spot and sit there. It gets very boring. That's what it's about. I hope that makes sense. But that's what it's about. Man, it's a risky book. I'll tell you that. It's very risky.
That's cool. I get that, because I know you go really deep into some personal stories that, you know, you've shared sort of off camera here, and I know many more. And you mentioned something, you know, that you get really vulnerable. And it struck me because I think you and I probably had mentors of a similar generation in this business that it was all about bravado. I'm not wrong. I'm always right. Even when I'm wrong, my timing's bad. Like, you know, there wasn't a lot of vulnerability in the individuals that kind of brought me up in this business. And I learned that when I started authoring my letter, my first couple issues, EB, this is going back like, I don't know, 5-6 years, I wrote about going bankrupt in 2014. I wrote about having the CRA seize my bank accounts on payday. Like, I wrote about the battles of entrepreneurship. And I was like, I don't know how this is going to land. And I had a lot of people respond and be like, you can't say that stuff in this industry, you know? But that ended up actually resonating tremendously with my audience and kind of lifted off the letter. And, you know, similar experience for you in terms of you worked for a lot of the biggest names in the business when you came up, and this is a bit of a pivot from that psychology, I imagine.
It is. What you just said made me think of something. Last week, I went to a conference in New York that a lot of people have been tweeting about, but I've gone there for 15 years or something, and Drunken Miller spoke. And when I say spoke, I don't mean 1,000 people. I mean, there's like, 150 people here, and I'm sitting like 6 feet away from Drunken Miller. Now, this guy's worth billions of dollars. He broke the pound with Soros, all this different stuff. He's a gentleman. He's like a nice person, whatever. But something hit me. He said that he loves to win more than anything else in the world. And he knocked on the wooden arm of the chair and he said, I've never had a down year. And the only thing that I love more than winning is not losing. And then he goes on to talk about his trades and all this stuff. And the question that I wanted to ask him, but I didn't want to be rude because this guy's really a gentleman, is what is the point? What is actually the point? I mean, you are worth billions of dollars, okay? You've never seen the inside of an airline terminal since like 1990. You have a family, you have all this stuff, and you're in your 70s, and his hand kind of shakes a little bit and stuff, and you're like, what are you actually doing? And I'm not being critical. I'm not being critical because I'm not a person that's like against wealth. Like I think it's a part of the makeup of our mind that we want to say, I know I'm going to have lunch today, but I need to know I'm going to eat for the next year to be satisfied. But people say I need to eat for thousands of years to be satisfied. And then they say, well, my neighbor has another billion than I have and all this stuff. And it's not really about the billion. It's because that's not even a bad thing. It's just that what are you actually doing? And see, what I know about you is what you're doing is you're having fun. Because when you got knocked off, your horse back in the day, it changed your perspective. And you do not have to fall flat on your face to change your perspective. What you have to do is you have to ask yourself, what is the point? What do I actually want? And in philosophy, the teacher helps you to play things out to an extreme. Okay? So like, people try to live longer now, right? They have all these machines. I have friends with like hyperbaric chambers in their house. It's totally crazy. I ask them, what's the point? Why do you want to live forever? Well, I want to live longer than everyone else. Is it better to live longer than everyone else? I mean, maybe it is, right? I mean, I don't know, but what are you going to do? It's not like you want to die tomorrow. It's like the answer to that is just live your life. Just go, just do whatever it is you want to do without trying to get this thing that you've never thought about before. Like in this book, one of the business partners I had, our boats went off course. And it was like he was on this quest to get something that he never thought about. And he's willing to sacrifice like friends and family and sacrifice this moment to get this thing that you never thought about. So back to your original question. A lot of those people that taught us, you know, it was a different era, right? I mean, like, it was this like, get this pile and then like live off the pile, but make sure the pile doesn't shrink. You got to make sure it doesn't shrink, because if it shrinks, people think less of you. But the whole time, you know, the big question in my house, you know, like I'm trying to kind of like, I don't want to say teach this to my kids, because they're going to have their own journey. Their journey is not the same as my journey. But the big question for my kids is like, are you having fun? Like, I mean, are you doing something you like to do? You know, I mean, like we're storm refugees right now. That's why I'm in Vancouver. But I told my kids, like, yeah, I mean, we're just going to go have a good time. Like, I mean, I have work to do there. Today we flew around the harbor, you know, in one of these float planes. My son got to like, you know, fly the plane. Whatever. It was very funny. But I mean, that's what you do, man. This is, you get one trip around the rock, and it's not about, you know, are you going to get me? Some of the people from those bull markets where you and I were much younger with more hair, some of those people are dead. I mean, honestly, like, I mean, I know people that made, you know, $50 million and then died of like a pill addiction.
Oof. Yeah.
What's the point? I mean, like, honestly, like what is going on here, man? I mean, you know, so I think if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh, is this two rich guys? It's not really. What you should take away is it's never a bad time to ask yourself, what is it I actually want? Why do I actually want this perceived success thing or whatever? It's not bad to want it, but it's bad to not ask yourself why you want it, because what you find is you can go after it and you can live now. Like that's what you're doing right now. You're definitely about the next score, right? But you're also about this actual moment is great. This is a great moment. In 2010, when I had kind of like the first big exposure to a bull market, like, you know, I was living very modestly. I tell this in the book. I mean, I was like, tell about the kind of car I had, all this stuff. It's not like I was a peasant, but I mean, I was just like extremely concerned about slipping back into a non-freedom situation where I would have to like go back into a corporate cage or whatever. And the reality is that, like, you know, I didn't have to worry about, you know, like dental work and, you know, like back pain. It's like, you know, I was taking like economy flights overnight, you know, in the way back of the plane. It was like, whatever, you know, I mean, I had like lots of that gel between your discs in your back or whatever, you know, it's like your perspective changes. And so what I'm saying is that, like, you can go after this, you can be hard charging rocket ship and realize that everything is great. Everything is great. And the more you do that, it's a paradox, the more successful you are. That's what happens when you really let go. Success just falls on your head because you're no longer fighting with the world. So, I mean, anyway, this is a long answer, but like watching Drunken Miller last week, I mean, I was definitely like, what is the point, man? What are you doing? There's an article about the founder of Workday. People can look this up, but the guy's like 84 years old. He started like 3 companies worth $15 billion. When you get done reading the article on Bloomberg, you're like, this guy's heavily disturbed. Like, he's got 10 kids, like 2 foundations, like all these different things going on. And he just like has got to start. He's compulsive. He's got to start another company. And I'm like, why do we celebrate these people? Like, why? I mean, I can tell you right now that, like, I play tennis like a fiend. Okay. I love to play tennis. I picked it up later in life. I wish I played when I was younger, but the reform school didn't have any racket sports. All we did was chop wood and stuff. Okay. But I love playing tennis. And like, for me, like peak living is like wake up in the morning. I take the rackets everywhere. Wake up in the morning, play for an hour, play like live ball or some 6-person clinic or some fun thing. It's like being at camp, you know, then do the work that I do. Right. I mean, like I'm reading this like fabulous book, you know, Infinite Jest, which I'm obsessed with. do stuff with my kids, like, eat some fun stuff. Like, I love chocolate croissants, which surprises people because I don't look like I would love them. Anyway, so this is like what I do every single day, day. It's like, it's peak living, man. It's peak. Like, this is the life, man. I'm not going to go into some like place I don't want to go to make money I'm afraid to spend. Does that make sense? Like,
Yep.
I mean, that's what people are doing. It's like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. And how do I know how long I'm going to live? I mean, there's a hurricane barreling towards my house right now. I mean, like hundreds and hundreds of people, by the way, in Asheville, North Carolina, died in mudslides. If they died doing something that they didn't really enjoy, you know what I mean? Like, you're done.
So, okay, I got to pull on a thread here because I agree with everything you're saying. And especially when you're like, letting go is in many ways the key to success, relinquishing, I guess, obsessive control over every little thing and enjoying life while staying hard charging, all of this. And then I know what my comments are going to say beneath the video at this point. They're going to say, oh yeah, easy for you to say, right? There's a hurricane in Florida. You can just fly to Vancouver, stay in a nice hotel, blah, blah, blah. We know what's going to happen with the comments there. So what I want to segue to then is this book is called Not for Sale. And as I understand, Evie, it's your journey from, I mean, let's effectively say prior wealthy EB to wealthy EB and a number of adversarial situations you had to overcome between then and now. Why is the book called, did I summarize that correctly? And then why is the book called Not for Sale?
All right, that's important because that wasn't the first title. There was another title and we changed it. What we figured out when we were reading the book and the people that helped me, like the idea people that helped me kind of like read it and comment to me and stuff, was that the theme was that there's a little voice inside of you, okay? And people call it instinct, they call it intuition, whatever they call it. And this is in all of us, okay? And what happens is that it tells us, it's like a beacon that's telling us things that it wants to do. And it's not always right, but it is always right. Because when it tells you to go after this person that later ends in divorce or something, you always look back and you think, you know what? I don't think I would change that. Like, this job I wanted and I went bankrupt or something. I mean, that's not what happened to me, but like whatever it is that you want to do and it pulls you over to that. Okay. That voice inside of you, the whole world, since you're a kid, is telling you to sell out on that voice. It starts out when you're in school. Sit down, stop daydreaming. Do your color in the lines, do your work, go over here, go to this place, go to that place, go to this office, work for this big corporation. Don't have any ideas about entrepreneurship. Do this. Act this way. Don't disrupt your partner. Don't
be good.
Try this.
Right?
It's constant. It's all since you're like 5 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to tell you, I do it with my kids. I mean, it's like sit down, be quiet, do all this thing. Okay. So we all do this. The world needs it for the world's convenience. The world's more convenient if we behave in a certain way. But the thing is that you have this beautiful instinct that's pulling you towards things that you're really good at doing. And so I tell people in the book about how I got these signals along the way. They're little signals that happen to me. And now I see that these were these magical things where like these people came along, taught me things. People came along, gave me little drive-by feedback that turned out to be really accurate later in life. And I'd say, no, I can't do that. I can't. And people say this to me all the time. Easy for you to say. You know what? It is easy for me to say because you have no idea what's going on in my personal balance sheet. Mm-hmm. You have no idea. And what I'm trying to tell you is I'm not telling you what to do. I'm trying to help you because I'm trying to say, listen to that voice. You can definitely do a job that you enjoy and shape your lifestyle to match that job. I did it, and I'm telling you how I did it in the book, okay? I sacrificed some things, some comforts, and chose freedom over saying, easy for you to say, I got to stay in this job I hate because I can't do the things you can do. Look, I was writing the blog. This is going back like, almost 2 decades. I was writing the blog, like collecting unemployment with a roommate driving a F-150. This is not like a poor story, okay? Don't get me wrong. I mean, I was like still living in a house and stuff like that. But I mean, I didn't have any insurance. I didn't have any savings account. I didn't have any whatever. It's like I didn't have any of this stuff. I mean, I was making like not that much money, okay? I mean, it was like I had to have a roommate because I wanted to have a roommate because like I couldn't afford the place to live. So it was like, but I wanted to be free, man. I wanted to be free, intellectually free, so that I could pursue ideas, learn about things, write about them. That was what I wanted to do. And I did it. And look what happened. And it was like, so yeah, I mean, Not for Sale is about how the world wants to control you. The world is like, sit down and shut up and do what we tell you to do, or else. But I'm telling you, if you do that, what's going to happen is you're going to go in this office over here, one of these like Bentall 5 or something, and you're going to sit in that cube until you're like 65. And then they're going to tell you, thanks a lot for sacrificing 40 years of your best health. Now you can go retire down in Scottsdale and you're going to be dead in 6 months. The reason is because you sacrificed this. Now, it doesn't mean like do something reckless. Don't get me wrong. You can do both. Some people greatly enjoy corporate life. Okay. It's true. But you can do things in other parts of your life that you really enjoy with the stability that comes with not everybody in the world is meant to be an entrepreneur. So don't get me wrong here. Okay. But what I'm trying to say to you is every single person down to the lowest level employee has a special, unique ability. I don't care if it's whipping matcha tea. It doesn't matter. There's something you like doing, and you're good at doing that. Like really good at doing that. Fixing things. I mean, I have a friend named James, he might watch this, who's a plumber. This guy is a really good plumber. I took him to 3 fish shows this year. He's a really good friend of mine. He's a great plumber, okay? He loves it. He makes plenty of money. It's fine. And that's just his thing, man. That's what he does, like he'll tell you about it. It's like Tetris to him. He can walk into your house and be like, I'm going to find where the water's leaking. And he'll find it. And he likes it. It's not like it's some sort of like jail sentence for him to be a plumber. Okay. So my point is, there's something inside of you pulling you towards a complete life, right? Listen to that thing. And don't apologize to people. Like, whatever it is you're going to do, you don't have to walk around saying, I'm sorry for doing it. You can just have to say, like, I don't mean to upset you, but this is what I'm doing.
Yeah. And I feel like there is more barriers or more resistance today. Maybe we're just in this season right now where we're othering a lot of people, and most every conversation and topic becomes us versus them dynamic. And more frequently, more stuff is becoming filtered through the lens of your political affiliation. And this is heating up continuously. And it's not new. It's been around for, probably since mid 2010s, but it's continued to heat up. And we're in a scenario now where it's like, to be a moderate is to be a contrarian to some degree, right? And think, as they say, it was in the French Revolution, it was the moderates who got the guillotine, right? Because they were the extremists for not picking a team.
Real quick break here, guys. If you are a mining investor, you are without question familiar with the Golden Triangle region in British Columbia. This is one of the most prolific mining regions in the world due to its vast deposits of gold, silver, and copper. Now, for the last 4 years, Dolly Varden Silver has been busy expanding their high-grade silver deposit in the Triangle. And they are backed by some of the smartest investors in the silver business, including the legendary Eric Sprott, Hecla Mining, US Global Investors, Fidelity, Delbrook Capital, Sprott Resource Corp, and more. If you are curious why the smartest money in the silver business is cozying up to Dolly Varden Silver, then hit the link beneath this video.
You, in a recent letter, here's a controversial one, maybe. You wrote in a recent letter about how you abstain from voting. And it made me think about this because I've abstained from having an opinion on U.S. politics. Now, I'm not American. I don't vote there, so it doesn't really matter. I don't really have a horse in the race. But I was recently on this retreat with a bunch of other entrepreneurs just last week down in Malibu, and everybody wanted to talk about this, right? And everybody had their team picked, and they were totally sunk in their ideology. And my opinion, which was, quite frankly, I don't think either candidate's going to change my life. I think both candidates are going to spend like drunken sailors. I think both candidates are going to do X, Y, and Z. And a lot of the supposed differences are on the surface and not that substantive. That ended up being the contrarian opinion. And I got hate from both sides, right? They're like, there's no way, And so is it harder today? Therefore, it's more important today to be, if it's convenient to do what they tell you to, is it more important today to be inconvenient to the world, EB, in your own way?
Look. I mean, go over to the library in the U.S., go to the microfilm, and go back to like New York Times front page, early 80s, and Iran's going to have a bomb in less than 2 weeks, okay?
Right.
Go over there and like fish back to, some other era, and you're not going to be able to get an abortion if candidate B gets elected, and candidate A is going to be sure you can have an abortion anytime you want. I mean, go over and look at, civil rights are going to no longer be existent if candidate C is elected, so they're a Nazi. I mean, it's like I understand all of these issues do affect me. Don't be acting like, with having a daughter that, you care very much about, that, you really respect people's rights to be able to have access to like, what it is they want to do. Right. I mean, I wrote about Frank Zappa was not a drug user. He was like anti-drug use and also like vehemently opposed to drug laws. That's hard for people, but that's how I am. Okay. So, I mean, like, what I would prefer my daughter do and what I want everybody else to be able to do is different. And people have a really hard time with that. But philosophically, it's an evolved opinion because you're able to hold multiple different views at the same time. Now, the reason I don't vote, now I just want to be clear about something. Not only do I not vote, I'm actually not registered to vote, because when you register to vote, the entirety of your informational characteristics of your whole life are posted on public data websites, which I think is crazy. I mean, where you live, how you vote, how you voted in the past, like whatever. It's like your affiliations, all these things, all listed right there. I mean, it's crazy to me. I'm like, what is the point of that? And then people are very angry when they find out that even my subscribers, I got all these personal messages that people were upset that I'm not voting, which I think is amusing, because I'm like, so what if I vote for the other candidate that you like? You'll be mad that, well, yeah, I will be. Okay, so what you want me to do is you want me to validate your opinion. But I'm not really in the business of validating people's opinions, because I don't really think that that's the way things work, And so, look, if you want to vote, it's great. If you want to do all this stuff. Now look at Chip Wilson, who is in your neighborhood. Post a sign outside about this candidate that literally called him out as being this person they want to, strip of as much wealth as possible. And then his house gets defaced by the free speech people who deface his house for speaking freely. It's crazy. Yeah. So to me, it's like the whole thing is a farce. I mean, try to back up a little bit and just see what's going on. And I'm in the business of like navigating, like you read my newsletter, ebtucker.com. It's like you read my stuff for 20 years. It's like I'm like the guy that's like navigating the jungle. Why would you want me voting? I mean, why would you want me like, really upset about, now I do have a cousin, by the way, that named Brad that's running for Congress. I think he might be the smartest of all my cousins, because this guy is like, I mean, the best job in the world, right? I mean, you have like your own private medical care. I don't know if you've ever been to Congress, but like I took my kids there to see it. It's unbelievable. I mean, you're eating like, lamb chops every day. And, you have like different pension, benefits for life. It's fabulous. I mean, like if you're a kid, I recommend politics as an occupation, because I mean, it's really like, it doesn't get any better. And the lobbyists take you all around, and it's just like, it's a great life. And you just get to kind of like have people upset and willing to give you money to promise to fix things. So, I mean, to me, that's like a lot easier than mining stocks. But yeah, I don't vote. I don't see a scenario where I'm ever going to be registered to vote. And I also could care less who gets elected, because I see it as like one problem or another, right? I mean, you're going to get, there's like something to deal with, but people, they get ideological where they're like, this will fix my problems. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. I mean, if you're going to make money and you're going to manage money and you're going to make decisions, like I'm a decision maker. That's really what I am, is an advisor, a decision maker. If you look at what I've done in my career, it's essentially been, advising, structuring, like that's really all I've done. Seeing the chess moves ahead. Yeah. Why would you want me like picketing for, some goon of a candidate that's like, whatever, these people just want money. I mean, I was on a date once, like people are like enamored with these politicians. I'm like, you want to meet this politician? What, you could do that? I promise you right now, if I buy a $10,000 plate at the dinner, I can get you a photograph with that person. Guaranteed. Like, guaranteed. $5,000 for a handshake, probably $10,000 for a photo. No problem. That's a great system, by the way, because I can get access by giving money. But it's like, to say that that's like some like amazing thing, I don't know. It's kind of like a stretch, but all the name calling, all the anger, all the spray paint, all the loss of friends, it's really, it's a lot. I'd rather hang out with the Zen people, to be honest with you.
You're making me like question myself in this scenario, because in every bucket of my life, I strive for sovereignty. And that's, in every bucket, literally, like in my kitchen at home, right? We make very independent choices and emancipate ourselves from the standard foods you might find, like it's whole organic foods only, in our health and wellness in my house, and the way we've structured our lifestyles, right? We have 3 young boys, yet we become very good at traveling overseas for extended periods of time. And it's not because we're spending boatloads of money, right? We're just doing it very effectively and sort of proving that you could educate young kids anywhere, anyhow, if you just think independently about it. Anyways, my wife and I try to go systematically through our life and ensure that we're applying critical thought and independent thought to every area that we operate. However, when it comes to politics, I have found myself still like, I gotta vote this guy out. That's kind of my thought around it, right? And in Canada, I think we have a candidate that should be voted out. I think it's very important. But as you were speaking, I was reflecting on this, and it was like, a principle is only a principle if you stick to it everywhere, under every circumstance. And if I say a core principle of mine is sovereignty, well, to cast a vote at all for a candidate who I don't really believe in, but I think is the better of 2 poor choices, it kind of offends that principle. And so you're abandoning the principle in a certain scenario, which makes you question whether it's a principle at all. Does that make sense? And
yes, and I want you to, the next level for you is to think about why am I going to tell the other people they're wrong? Yeah. Some of my friends that are hardcore on this politics stuff, that are rich people, they're control freaks. That's what they are. They're control freaks. What they want, like, I mean, my cousin, I'm not going to tell you really what I think drives my cousin, because I think it's his dad that drives him. But his dad has an agenda, and his agenda is a little wacky, man. So, I mean, these people are control freaks, and you gotta get out there with the people, man, and you gotta see what the society wants. The society moves like a market. The reason why most people are not successful in the market is because they are completely unable to see what's going on and where things are moving, okay? They're so worried about what they want to happen that they cannot see what is happening, okay? That's why people are not successful. And so they're attached to an outcome. is what it is, right? And they cannot let go because they don't know they're attached. So if you don't know that you're crazy, there's no hope for you. So you got to see what's happening in this society. And this society is not what these wealthy friends of mine think it is. I mean, people do not want the same things that a lot of people watching this show want. You've got to mix and mingle and watch the system as it's evolving. And then to say those people are all wrong, it's not fair. They don't think they're wrong. Mm-hmm. They think you're wrong. Yeah. So it's really important you cannot change that tide, because it's what it is it's shaped by, it's kind of like in the newsletter Thursday, you'll read, I'm talking about aging, right? So what aging is it's like a little bit genetics and time, and then it's like millions of decisions that you make in these little microseconds throughout your life. Like how you eat, how you sleep, how you do all this stuff. It's the amalgamation of all those things. And then when you come in and you try to stop one little part of that or something, you create all these weird outcomes. So you just create, it gets weird because you cannot control that process. Now you can control these little decisions along the way. Okay, so look at the people that are 25 years old now, and look at the perspective that they have growing up in this era, and then say to yourself to go tell them they're all wrong is really maniacal.
Yeah.
You're better off to try to watch them. I mean, I sit and watch people all the time. I'll go in the airport. I love the airport. I would never want to fly flying private is nice, but all the time private is you miss something very special. Watch people in the airport. You learn so much listen to what they're talking about. For example, one of the things that fascinates me in the airport is people are mortified to touch doorknobs and the seatbelt, and they wipe these odd things down. And then you just think about it. It's some things to them are risky, other things are not risky. And so you just start watching them and thinking about what their decision-making process is like. It's fascinating. It tells you what they'll do when they're pressed with other choices. I mean, right. It's just, you should approach everything in life this way, because being determined that if this happens, then you're going to be safe. That's what's happening with these politics people, right? Mm. If all this happens, then I'll feel better because this will happen. Total nonsense. Total nonsense. I mean, look, you're going to die, okay? That's what's going to happen. And your kids are going to spend all your money, right? I mean, that's what's going to happen. So, it's not you want to be reckless because of that, but you got to give up thinking you can control, all this stuff, because if you do that, you might miss something else. It's totally magical. Do you see what I mean? Getting the outcome you want, you might miss this other thing over here. So you're better off to just be why don't I just, glide a little bit as the jet crashes, right?
And also, I agree with all that. And you got me thinking about the opportunity cost about caring about anything, right? And it's important to care about some things and many things, but there's only so much energy that you have to distribute. And the more you dilute that energy, the less focused you can be in any one thing. And if you're really serious about building your business or building your wealth or bettering your health or whatever that thing is, finding a life partner, it doesn't matter. If you're also diluting a large percent of your energy. And again, I'm reflecting on this entrepreneurial retreat I was just on, where there were individuals who had businesses not at all related to policy, politics, or international conflict or any of these things, but they had very strong opinions about all of those things, very strong opinions about the upcoming election, about a variety of policies, about international conflicts, and they're investing lots of mental capital in those issues.
Huge.
And that's fine. But what that means is that you're taking that mental capital off something else you could focus it on. And the more you can say no to, it means the heavier weight your yeses carry, right? And if you're saying yes to everything because you feel like you have to have a stick in every fight or a dog in every fight and an opinion about everything, it just means the things that really matter to you, that actually move the needle long term, that you'll actually care about when you're 85 and you're reflecting on who you've become and what you are at that moment in time, it's like, well, how effective were you with your energy? Did you just like shotgun it, machine gun it everywhere? Or were you very specific and depress the gas pedal, when it mattered and how hard it mattered, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
All right, so there's two things quickly going on here. Number one is at a cellular level, we all want to survive. Okay, so like the people that are fighting for State Department to do something in Eastern Europe, there's another group of people that are gonna, if there's a switch in power, they'll be fighting for some Latin American thing or whatever. So there's always going to be this, and it's not necessarily bad. It's like there's always going to be these flavors, I like to call them, right? Like the soda fountain has different flavors, and they all feel strongly that orange feels like it's the best flavor, purple feels like it's the best flavor, whatever. So it's always going to be that way, okay? So that's always going to happen. So we can observe that and sit back and just see. But don't forget about, like, for example, Pema Chodron wrote this book called When Things Fall Apart. And it was all about how she came home and realized her husband's like, I don't love you anymore. I haven't loved you a long time. And she like collapsed. And then she's writing this book about how like, turns out 10 years later, that's the best day of her life. Do you get what I'm saying? So she tells this beautiful story about how it set her off on this like magical path, where all these like insanely cool things happened. And so she says now I would never, she's friends with the husband, whatever, everything's groovy. But like she would never trade that for anything in the world. And so in my book, I say something similar about how like all these things that looked awful at the time, right? Like, I mean, being fired, all these weird things, breaking up, having a divorce, all these things. You look back at them and you think, wow, I mean, that awful thing like shifted the path over here and look at what happened. It's incredible. So why would I want to control anything really? I mean, I know this is kind of cosmic for people, but just give it a shot that like, maybe, just maybe, you're capable of more than you think and you can understand this stuff. And as your life unfolds, it's going to be perfect. It's just going to be perfect. And like, the more you let go, the more success you're going to have, because you're going to, some of the stuff we're talking about, you're going to just see, and you're going to just start laughing and you're going to think, this is really great. Like this whole show over here, this is great. I mean, imagine this. It's like, it's beyond your wildest imagination if you really stop and think about it. And it's fun. And you're rarely missing a meal. I mean, they're giving away food down at the park down there. I can go to Oppenheimer Park or whatever down the street here. I can have a free handout meal. I mean, think about it. It's unbelievable, really, right? I mean, you're not going to starve. You're not going to starve. And yeah, I just think this is the stuff, man. And if it doesn't make sense to you, leave a nasty comment. And then 10 years later, when you see me at a conference, you could say, I'm sorry I left that nasty comment because now I realized you actually were telling the truth. It's like the people that leave nasty comments about companies that I was on the board of, a year and a half ago or something.
Yeah.
That I sold on my stock 2 years ago. And I'm like, wake up, come on, do a little homework, do a little, read a press release every couple of years. Not because of any reason, except for the fact that like, you're smarter than that. You know what I mean? Like you're smarter than that. You know what's going on. You're not, like you can do this. Wait, get in the game, man. Put a uniform on. Get in the game. You can do it. And so I think people can and should do it.
So what's next for you, EB? Because I know in 2023, you ended a few business relationships and projects, right? Started the Tucker Letter. I believe you started the Tucker Letter, restarted it, you might want to say, in 2023. What are you looking forward to, man? And comment on market outlook if that corresponds, for sure, because I know in your letter you talk about your positioning and you cover a few ideas here and there. So, what's next?
Yeah, so we have these chapters in life. I mean, the big takeaway in the manifesto is like I do a couple things every single day to set me up for being ready to surf the next wave, if that you can call it that. And I did that stuff before I surfed the last wave too. And it's a humbling time. I mean, this has been a year of I write the Tucker letter. People that read it realize I'm not selling you something. There's nothing, it's for your enjoyment. And you get a really clear look inside of what I see, like real time, by reading that. It's the best job in the world. And to prove it to you, I lose money doing it. So that's how you know you love what you do, is you're willing to tell the accountant, I'm not going to stop doing this. Even against sound advice, I'm not going to stop writing this thing because it's just too much fun. So I'm spending a lot of time doing that. And then I'm spending time around people that I think are high vibration people. And what that means is somebody will invite me to do something that seems frivolous, and I'll go do it. I've got a tech industry friend that's done a bunch of startups that invited me to a memorial for his wife who died on the Day of the Dead, which is like the kind of Latin American Halloween, basically. And I take my kids to do that, and we spend time with all these tech industry people. Like, I'm not really a tech guy, but here I am with these people that are like philosophically very hip. And that's the kind of stuff I'll do. I'm willing to spend money to do that even when it doesn't make sense, if that makes sense. And I can promise you that there will be a time when I come on here and tell you about something that I'm excited about, that I put big money in. If you remember, last time I've done that, I mean, I bought a lot of stock, and what happens is I see an idea, I get excited, I buy a lot of stock, and I get involved in some way, hands-on, not working there, but like, really trying to steer things. You'll see in the book, my grandfather kind of taught me how to do this. He was like the ultimate steering guy. And I like that. I'm an activist investor, basically, right? I mean, it's like, that's what I do. I'm not a promoter. People don't understand that. I've had situations, I bought a lot of stock, I lost money. It doesn't work sometimes. Things don't work sometimes. It's okay. You do something else after that. You take your lumps and you go do something else. And what you see when you know a lot of successful people is everybody does that. I mean, it's like, they just don't tell you about it, because they don't tell you about like the strikeout or whatever. They tell you about like the grand slam, at the ninth inning. That's what they tell you about. But you're going to have some swings and misses. And so right now I'm in this zone where I'm positioning myself for that next thing. And there will be another thing. I call it EB 7.0. There will be another thing. And then there'll be a downswing, and then there'll be 8.0. It'll go like that, until I expire. And that's beautiful. Right? Because, I mean, at EB 5.0, I couldn't have told you that thing that came that was amazing. I couldn't have told you that was coming.
Yeah.
So it's about the footwork. It's about the footwork. That's what it's all about. If you do the footwork, it shows up. In fact, it falls on your head. That's what happens. You don't even have to look. You just have to be in those habits, those patterns. That's what you have to do. And then it finds you.
This is the manifesto that you're speaking to, right?
This is the manifesto. Yeah.
The priming, right. Effectively.
That's right. It's the footwork. That's right. And you can do it. Like, I mean, it seems like stupid to talk about because it's so basic, but you can do it. I mean, you have something. I'll tell you this, your mind, like this is a supercomputer that's bolted to your neck. Everybody has it. Even the people that you perceive as like not so bright, they have it too. Okay. Like your mind, ask a biologist, how capable is the human mind? I mean, I'm in a curiosity group. It means that it's like a group of people that studies curiosity, and like, it's a force like gravity, it's very interesting. And there's a lot of books about this that are very heavy. But it is widely believed that you can actually shape time with your mind. You can bend reality with your mind, and I'll prove it to you by doing the opposite. By you probably know people that talk all the time about pessimistic things and worried about things and losses and losing money and getting hurt and whatever, all this different stuff. And those people obviously end up always hurt, always losing money, always have, it's like they draw it into their life. Okay. And it's not like manifesting. Don't get me wrong. It's just that what you focus on, you get more of. Okay. So what are you going to focus on? Because you have this supercomputer that you've unboxed, and what are you going to tell it to do? What are you going to tell it to do? And it's not so easy as just is just like writing down, some grandiose dreams or something. It's not like that. You have to figure out what you're good at doing, what your aptitudes are. You have to figure out what you like doing. You have to figure out where you need to be to do that thing. Okay. So like if I want to be a tennis player and I'm hanging out, in like Colorado Rockies in January, that's not a good environment for me. Okay. So you have to figure out, when it comes to your success wiring, there's all these questions you got to answer, but you can definitely answer them. Okay. And so now once you do that, how are you going to program this computer to get you what it is that you want? And I tell you how to do that. I mean, like somebody told me how to do that. Okay. 25 years ago. And I did it. I just, the guy that taught me that stuff, I thought seemed like he had been pretty successful and he was smart. And he just told me, he's like, if you want to get dead serious about being successful and about being free, that's what it's about. Do you want to be free or do you want to be, on somebody else's rope? Okay. And I wanted to be free. Like that's my story, coming along. It was like, that was a big deal to me because I didn't like being caged. And, he said, if you want to be serious about this, then you have to adopt certain ways of thinking and behaviors as habits. If you eat like junk all the time and you expect to be an athlete, it's not going to work. Yeah. There's multiple things that have to be done for you to accomplish that. And so if you're going to be a successful person, your success mindset has got to be turned on. Mm-hmm. And what happens is that you begin having synchronicity happen, right? You begin having these little happy accidents happen. And you notice that those happy accidents match what you're focused on. Mm. And once you see that, there's no stopping you. You're limitless because, you realize that it's not about like making $1 billion. It's about doing the thing that you're really good at doing, that you love doing with people that you enjoy doing it with, and having fun in this magical journey. That's what it's about, man. And when you start doing that, money falls on your lap. It just falls in your lap. You just start. It's secondary. It's secondary. That's what happens. You're just cruising. And if you don't do that, you're fighting. You're swimming upstream. It's miserable. And most people do that. Most people swim upstream. It's like it's totally miserable. You listen to them. Even the people that start telling me like those easy for you to say people, it's so boring. It's just like, what are you doing? Who are you fighting? Like, it's just, I can't do this because of my parents, and I can't do this because it's like, it's none of that's true. Yeah. Not one of those things is true. And why would you not want to do what you love? Like, if you're going to live a finite amount of time, what are you trying to like make payments on a car and like live in a house? Whatever. It's like, these are all your reasons. Come on, it's crazy. It's like, so all that's like, we've given ourselves permission to limit the possibilities, with these beliefs, and you just give all that up right away. Yeah. But let me just tell you, back to your original question, there will be EB 7.0, and I'll tell you about it first.
All right, man.
Believe me, it's coming. It's coming. Because I'm not at an age where I'm done, and it's not about like the next thing like these other people were talking about. It's just like something that will get me excited. Mm-hmm. That's what happens is I get excited. Somebody I get pitched stuff all the time, but somebody will tell me something that I'll be like, that's the thing. That's the thing. We got to do that. We got to do it. We got to do it because it's fun and because it makes sense. Yeah. And it's coming. It's coming. Believe me, like there's been, I'm in New York and California all the time. I'm with these people. It's like, I say no to a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. And not because it's bad, just because it's like it sometimes it's not the thing, you can, the more you're in this mindset, the more you just feel things for what they are. It's all about feeling. You don't go out and like command things to happen. It's got to be right time, right idea, right people, right setup. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I'm going to play tennis and write stories. Right. That's what I'm going to do. Because I'm just not going to, why go swim upstream? It doesn't make any sense.
I love that, man. Look, so I know you got to go. I know we got to wrap it up. But it's always a pleasure to chat with you, EB. And check out Not For Sale. It's available on Amazon. You can go pick it up. It's a series of stories that, as EB said, chronicles his journey from, young, effectively outcast in a community he didn't feel like he belonged in North Carolina, through to finding massive success in business. And also the Tucker Letter. It's on Substack. There's a free version that comes out every 2 weeks. It's a no-brainer. Start there. And if you want more, there's more options for you. But the free essay every 2 weeks is a great place to start. The Tucker Letter on Substack. And EB, it's always a pleasure to jam with you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, ebtucker.com. And look, I hope to see you in person soon. I always love catching up.
Yeah, likewise. Likewise, brother. Okay.